Hey guys, today we're going to show you how to make Game of Thrones cloaks out of Ikea rugs. If you're interested in more cosplay how-tos, please be sure to subscribe to our channel because we have a whole bunch more coming. Today we're going to show you how to make some Game of Thrones cloaks in honor of Game of Thrones month.
And here are some of the supplies you may need. There are two parts to making this cloak, and we're going to tackle the most time-consuming one first, which is dyeing the rugs. And yes, these are the Ikea rugs that they said they used to make the background extras cloaks in Game of Thrones. So yeah, it was my first time going to an Ikea, and I totally got lost twice. But you'll see a bunch of these white wren-skin sheepskin rugs piled up. They're all generally the same length, but try to get the longest one you could get. Once you get the rug, you'll need to prep it for the dye. We took a storage bin and filled it up with cold water. Then we put the rug in and soaked it for 8 hours. Now that it's soaked, prep the next storage bin. Fill it with the hottest water you can get from your faucet. RIT recommends 140 degrees Fahrenheit, so keep that in mind. You could use whatever salt, but I'd recommend Morton. Measure out 1 cup of salt, pour it into the bin, and mix well. Then, add 1 tablespoon of dishwasher liquid and mix again. If you have 3 gallons of water, RIT says to use half a cup of dye for every pound of fabric. We're going to use a whole bottle instead because we want more of a darkish color for our fur, and we want to make sure the dye covers all of the sheepskin. Once you pour that in, mix everything in your bin again. And then, you're ready to put in the fur. To prevent getting dye in your hands, put on plastic disposable gloves. When it's in, take a stick and push it down. You want to make sure that it's submerged completely. RIT says the first 10 minutes is critical for the dye to set in, so stir it for 10 minutes straight to get an even dye. We've dyed fabrics before at RIT, and we know it takes a long time to get to that dark color that we wanted. So for ours, we mixed for 45 minutes straight and then let it soak for 20. Remember that the color will be darker when the fur is wet. So to see what color it'll actually be, take a piece of fur and squeeze the water out of it. That will be the color when it dries. While we're waiting for the dye to set, take another storage bin and fill it with scorching hot water. This will be our RIT Color Stay Dye Fixative, and what it'll do is obviously help the color stay, and therefore bleed less, but it'll also enhance the color. Add half of the Color Stay Dye Fixative bottle and mix. When your fur is ready, transfer it immediately into the Color Stay Dye Fixative bin. Stir it for 5 minutes, and then let it soak for 20. After it's soaked, it's ready to be rinsed. Hose it down until the color doesn't bleed anymore. For drying, we hung it outside for 8 hours. After that, we let it dry for a day or 2 under a fan. Once it's all dry, brush the fur to get any knots out. You'll also see that the skin is stiff in the back. To remedy this and make it waterproof, we'll add mink oil paste. Heat the area you're going to apply it to, and then rub in some of the mink oil paste. Do this until you've covered all of the skin. Then, put the fur under a fan for another day or two until it's fully dry. Now for the second part of making this cloak, it's sewing. And this was definitely the trickier part for us because we had quite a problem trying to readjust the pattern to our own sizes. For our cloaks, we went to a fabric store and got 3 to 6 yards. When you get yours, lay it out onto the floor. The pattern we found on Pinterest shows us to make a semicircle, so you'll need to trace this shape onto your fabric. When laying on it and comparing it to the pattern, the X's would be at the tip of your toes and the Z's would be at your collarbone. Your height would be the dotted line labeled A. Figure out how long you want your cloak and cut out your pattern. We didn't end up cutting a neck area like in the pattern because we wanted to tie them together with cords for 2 of them. At the flat end of the pattern, where your shoulders would be, we flipped a little of the fabric in the middle, over a cord, and used a sewing machine to sew it together.
It's very nice, it's very nice.
Cool.
Wait, let me get it for you.
Since we messed up my pattern, I had to improvise a little bit to make these crisscross straps that a northerner cloak would have. And what I did was make a belt that the straps attach to while still being sewed to the cloak. Now if you want to go this route and make a belt, definitely check out our cosplay belt how-to so that you can make your own, and then follow the steps after this. After making the belt, we sewed the 2 leather straps to it in the back. Then, we sewed the 2 straps to the cloak. At the front of the belt, we punched 2 holes on either side, and on each leather strap for snap caps. This is what makes it easier to take off a cloak with a crisscross pattern. Now all we have left is to attach the fur, but before we do that, this is the time to add any aging or dirt to it to give it more of a realistic look. Using tulip fabric spray, spray some paint on your plastic gloved hand and apply it to the fur. You want to put more at your edges and less as you go towards the middle. After that, give it an hour to dry. We used Ikea's pattern to cut the fur, and the best and easiest way to cut it is on the skin side. So take an X-Acto knife, or a knife like this cobalt one that we have, and cut out the pattern. With the cloak on, put it over your shoulder and pin it at the points you need to sew.
I'm queen of the world. Okay, this definitely comes up better. Do you want the fur over your cowl or under your cowl? What looks better?
I think it'll be easier to sew onto here if we leave it up. She has the little hood. To keep the integrity of the fur, try to sew at a few points along the neck rather than making many holes along the neckline. What we did on the fur is cut a little X so that the needle can go through easier. Once you've sewed your fur on, your cloak is ready to go.
There you have it. We're all done. We are all properly attired to go take on some White Walkers or the Lannisters, whoever you want to go up against in the Game of Thrones universe. You are ready to do it in style. So thank you so much for watching. We hope that you really enjoyed this video and that you have fun making your own Game of Thrones cloaks. Comment below and let us know the words of your house so that we know where your allegiances lie. Don't forget, the North remembers. Thank you again, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and please keep watching because we have a whole bunch more really cool how-to cosplays coming really soon.